Yo guys, it's Vin, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a commentary talking about improvement in Brawlhalla. If you've seen my mental warfare of Brawlhalla video where I talk about a mental game and how that affects the way we play and how to kind of get around it, this may be a little bit similar to this, but yeah, today we're going to be talking about improvement, how fast you should be improving, and really how fast you shouldn't be improving? I don't know. Something like that. But yeah, let's just get into it. I wrote the script a long time ago, so hopefully this all still makes sense and I'm still able to make sense of it. But yeah, you guys are gonna think I'm pretty crazy, but I'm gonna show a graph on screen. This graph is completely figurative. It's not based on any data. I just made it to demonstrate a point. I made it in Google Sheets. It took me a little bit to figure out how to make what I wanted. But yeah, the blue line, in a figurative sense, it represents what most people think how fast you should improve in a linear way. And the red line is more kind of what it looks like. Although, of course, it would realistically be a lot messier, but I don't know how to do that in Google Sheets. It's just figurative. As the line goes up, this is you improving, right? And when the line isn't going up on the red line, right, it just means you're kind of staying around the same level. And something I want to mention is, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, if you disagree with me. This is going to be a pretty subjective video overall, but I just want to say that I don't really think that the line on the graph ever really goes down. If you're constantly playing Brawlhalla, you're not getting worse at it, right? And of course, if you don't play the game constantly, like me, I take really long breaks, yeah, then sure, you can lose mechanical skill, right? But overall, you don't really just lose knowledge of the game, because you may be playing bad at the moment, or even if you're playing bad for a really long period of time, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're washed up or anything. It just means that there's something stopping you from playing at your peak, or applying all your knowledge, or maybe you just don't know the new meta or something like that. Something is preventing you that way. But yeah, that's just something I want to clarify. That's a little opinion of mine. But let's just get into the other parts of the graph, which are the main talking points of this video. Basically, improvement is not linear. I know that probably everyone will agree with this, and if they hear it put like that and they see the graph on the screen, then they'll say, yeah, no one improves constantly. But I feel like a lot of times we have this expectation where subconsciously we think we should be improving like that, and we're not satisfied if we don't improve like that, when in reality no one improves in a linear fashion, right? We all have mistakes, right? In lower ranks, many of these mistakes go unpunished. But as you get better and you rise in elo, your mistakes start to get punished. And you don't start winning, right, until you fix them. This is why I believe that improvement goes in chunks, like the red line. Sure, you can improve a little bit at a time, but it's generally much more common to experience improvement in chunks, because you don't just partially fix a mistake, right? Sure, you can mess up sometimes and then remember it to not make the mistake other times, but in the heat of the moment, looking at that one instance, right, you can't partially mess up, right? You either make the mistake and get punished, or you don't mistake and you don't get punished. So this is why I believe that the best way to practice is just to focus on one thing at a time. I believe that this is the way to fast track your improvement in Brawl, because if you distribute your focus really widely, let's say my mistake is I want to fix my movement, right? Or I want to fix my punish game. If I try to work on everything at once, you only fix your mistakes a little bit of the time, right? Whereas if you focus on just one mistake at a time, you can correct it pretty much almost every single time if you're actively thinking about it, leaving one less habit that can be abused by your opponent. Now, the biggest thing that I try to remember is to not get too attached to something and keeping an open mind. I think that this might be a little bit weird to think about. The main place that I see this is when choosing mains and when people talk about their play styles, right? In my opinion, playstyles don't really, and by the way, this might be kind of sidetracking, but in my opinion, playstyles don't really matter, or they don't really form until like Diamond or well into Diamond. people often like to identify themselves with a certain character, a weapon, or a playstyle. Now, for example, someone may say, oh, I'm a passive player. I'm a passive Qatar main, and I don't like going off stage. And by the way, I think everybody does this to an extent. I identify myself strongly as an Azoth main who quite naturally uses a lot of SIGs, right? So I have my own identity in the game. Now, identifying with something is not bad because it allows you to pick a main, right, and stick with that main. Just like I said before, you don't want to be distributing your focus so widely. If you focus on one character at a time rather than playing random and ranked, obviously you're going to get much better very quickly. That's a way to fast track your improvement. But the problem is that when you identify the problem is that when the identity that you gave yourself prevents you from branching out your own skill set. Now, let's look back at that example of the passive Qatar's main who doesn't like going off stage. If this player stands by this idea that he's bad at off stage, he'll never go off stage, and therefore he will never win an off-stage engagement because he's not practicing going off stage. Now, he may not lose in that scenario, right? But he will also never be able to use the strength of Qatar's offstage to convert edge guards into leads. Now, on a larger scale, this may be one of the factors that may be contributing to the flat ground on the graph. It's a spot where, yes, the weapon has the potential to be very strong in this area, but just because this one person doesn't know how to use it in the moment, they never work at trying to be able to use it, if that makes any sense. So the key thing to remember from all this, I'd say, is to remain open-minded. If you decide that you're bad at edgeguarding in gold, who is to say that you have to be bad at edgeguarding in platinum, right? You've clearly gotten better at the game, right? You've fixed some of your mistakes. You've gotten better, higher in elo. So why not use your new knowledge of the game to expand your skill set, right? Don't just say you're bad at something and refuse to try and get better at it in fear of losing, right? You're gonna lose games anyway. You're gonna lose a lot of games in Brawlhalla. It happens, right? I honestly lose more games than I win nowadays. So why not try to use them as a learning experience? I talk about this in my mental game video, but we're gonna talk about it again here, right? This is the only way to overcome the flat ground on that graph, right? The more we improve, the less noticeable improvements become, and the longer those stale zones get, the flat ground on the graph, right? I mean, it just makes sense. You learn slower because there's less to learn, right? As once you start the game, it feels like, oh my god, you make so much improvement so quickly. That's why it contributes to that feeling where we get frustrated when we don't learn linearly, right? We get frustrated when we're not learning at the same rate as when we started, and leads us to get bored or frustrated and all that, and that leads to us just having a lot of self-doubt with our rate of improvement. I think that the key thing to remember here is that as you improve, your scale should change as well, your scale of improvement and your scope of things. I'm not saying that you should be tolerating mistakes or tolerate laziness in practice, if you really want to get better, right? I'm just saying that you shouldn't be so hard on yourself when you're not improving at the rate you want, because a lot of times our initial rate of improvement, it will really heavily skew our opinions or our views on how fast we should be improving. Everyone improves at different rates. It's obvious, yes, right? And I think everyone agrees that, yeah, again, everyone improves at different rates. But subconsciously, just like the graph, I feel like we all think that we should be improving at a certain way. We all naturally compare ourselves to others, right? I think the most obvious example for me is my friend Korai, absolute beast. He calls himself the best Brawlhalla player in the game. He's far from it, many would say, but you know what? He believes he is, and honestly, he makes it believable for all of us too, because I'm not even talking about it, but his playstyle is so ridiculous that it works, alright? But that guy hit Diamond in half the time that it took me to hit Diamond, right? I played the game way more. We started playing the game at the same time, right, basically. And it took me like what, 900 hours, almost 1,000 hours to hit diamond, and it took him like what, 400 hours, 300 hours, I don't even know. He can say in the comments, but I'm not gonna ask him to revise the script now. But yeah, you know, everyone improves at different rates. Again, it may be because he was playing with me and I was putting a lot of time into practicing things, and he would learn things by playing against me. Not to say that I'm the better player necessarily, but you know, he just got it, right? He was able to abuse things in ranks that I wasn't able to, and he was able to learn quicker in where it really counted, which is ranked. So that's just a long-winded way of saying everyone improves at different rates, and you really shouldn't feel frustrated if you're stuck in gold for 1,000 hours, or you're stuck in platinum for 2,000 hours. You know what? As long as you're having fun with the game, and as long as you know, okay, this is getting into territory of my mental game video. If you haven't watched that, I highly recommend you watch that. Because I was about to say that, remember, it's just a game, right? But if you want to hear my full thoughts on that, just go watch that video. I'm not going to delve into that now. You guys don't need to hear that again. But anyway, guys, the key things to remember in this video, if you took away anything, are just stay open-minded. And remember that the way you improve in a certain time of the game doesn't mean that you're always going to improve at that rate. And I don't want you guys to feel burnout just because, you know, you're not as, quote, good as you used to be, or you're not improving as fast as you used to be. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little structured discussion. I wrote the script a really long time ago. There's a lot of cues that I don't even know what they mean. So anytime I mess up, it's probably because there's something in the script that I wrote really lazily and I didn't outline it. Because I wasn't expecting to take like a 6-month break from this game, right? And look at this script and not have any clue what any of this stuff means. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. And I hope you got something out of it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.